Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about Dungeon Craft's 800-pound Gorilla King D&D 5e video. And I want to talk about Stanchions, a Stanchion of separation, which is specifically Critical Role, which Dungeon Craft called out. And he's like, hey, no other game in the world has a Critical Role. There's no analog, right? Like there's nothing that performs at the level of Critical Role for any other tabletop role-playing game. And that's true. There is only one Critical Role, right? But specifically today, I want to talk about two specific attributes of that section, right? Which is players you wish you had that were all called out by Dungeon Craft, and I'm going to give additional commentary on it. I'm going to be commenting on his commentary, right? And so he called out, he said, when it comes to Critical Role, there's two things you need to be interested in. One, Critical Role has the players you wish you had, right? I think that's very true, right? A lot of people are like, oh yeah, I definitely would like some Hollywood type, I would definitely like 4 people who actually have presence, right? And the following things: creativity, enthusiasm, and accents. All right. So I would love that, everybody's like, yeah, I would definitely like to have, 4 to, what do they got? Like 7 people on the roll at Critical, 7 players on Critical Role. And I would definitely love to have 7 players who have presence, right? Who have creativity, who have enthusiasm, and use accents, right? Now, I do disagree with Dungeon Craft on the accents. I think accents are dangerous, and I really don't think they should be used in tabletop role-playing games. I think they're often offensive when we think they aren't, and I actually very much think Critical Role is on the offensive side. If they had more representation within their group, I think I could give them a pass on all the accents they use. But I think the idea that the accents they've used over the years are not non-offensive is ludicrous, and they get a pass. They're getting a pass. They have passing privilege. It's just my take, my opinion, right? So I don't agree with so I'm going to take that one off the board for what I'm talking about here. But I think every Dungeon Master would definitely love 7 players who have presence, creativity, and enthusiasm and are bringing it every game, right? Like, yeah, that's what we want, right? So here's the kicker. You only get that. Here's what I'm saying. You only get that with Dungeons & Dragons, right? You either run Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and you get the best players there are, right, on the planet, or you get the remainder. Let me circle it through. So one, I know y'all think this isn't true, but it is. It is not a coincidence that the best tabletop role-playing table in the world, Matthew Mercer's Critical Role table, is playing D&D 5e. They were running Pathfinder. They're like, no, we want this to be successful. We have a whole bunch of creative, enthusiastic presence people here. We need the game to be as good as we are, right? And Pathfinder ain't cutting it. You're gone. Out. Kicked. Let's get the best, because that's what we are, right? And so one, it's already been proven by Critical Role that the best Dungeon Master in the world and the best players in the world at the macro level accepted, right? Because I'm not sure that, I definitely think Matthew Mercer is the best player, the best Dungeon Master in the world. I don't think for a second that the Critical Role people are the best players in the world, but a lot of people do, and I actually think 51% of the world would say, if you ask you who's the best player, who's the best Dungeons and Dragons players in the world, no question, the Critical Role would come up. They would win that competition, even though I say they're not, right? But get this, right? So they've already proven, right, that the best go to the best, right? If you got the best Dungeon Master and you got the best players, you go to the best game, right? Period, right? All right, but let's get the rest of the way. So you want people with presence who have creativity and enthusiasm to be at your table, right? So how are you going to get there this way? Oh, hey, here we are at the FLGS. Look at all the shelves. You see how every 3 months a brand new book drops onto that shelf, and it's got world-class writing, world-class art, and world-class layout from people who work 40 hours a week and get vacation and take this seriously? Or would you like to come over here and play this black and white nonsense that is either D&D then, is no longer in print, or do you want to play this D&D copy game that has black and white art, right? and was done on somebody's weekend and is literally a hobby for them, right? Like, and maybe some beer and pretzel money, or maybe they're eking out a living, and the mass majority of their staff is either paid dirt because they're still building their skills rather than being at the top of their career. Like, D&D has pulled the best writers, the best layout artists, the best artists, and they have a global branding team. They have the best cartographers in the world. Or would you like to play this scrub game that is literally, quite literally, the quality's lower on every single thing, right? And then you're also like, and also, you know, we're gonna have a hard time getting people interested, because when we go to people with presence who have creativity and enthusiasm, the odds of them even knowing what the name of our game is slim to none, right? How are you going to fill a table with people with presence, creativity, enthusiasm out of people who are not interested in color, in good layout, in good writing, right? Or actually, I won't even say good, but are interested in subpar art, subpar writing, and subpar layout, because that's all that left, because the best has already been swept up by D&D, right? And the reality is, you're not. You either run D&D 5e and you have a chance to get the best players in your city, in your state, right? Or you run D&D then, or D&D copy, and you play with the remainder, who are almost certainly not going to be people with presence, creativity, and enthusiasm, right? It's not a coincidence that Critical Role, the best DM and the best players in the world, play D&D, because it's the best game. And if you think you can attract presence, enthusiasm, and creativity to your game, give it a shot. The only thing you're going to find is that the people who are interested in the non-best games are the non-best players and the non-best DMs. Period. End of sentence, right? So I think Dungeon Craft was spot on, right? If you want players who have presence, creativity, and enthusiasm, his words, right? You're going to attract them with the best game, not a second-tier game, which every other game in the market is. My take, I'd love to hear yours. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing. Have a wonderful millennium.